So I was out last week, went to Nashville first. My daughter's in Irish dance. The National North American Irish Dance Championships were last weekend. And so flew down to Nashville, tried to grab a cab to head up to the Opryland, right? And I was waiting a little bit at the cab stand, and because I thought there would be a shuttle. But long story short, so I go over, and I'm like, yeah, I don't have cash on me. Who has cash anymore, right?
Right.
And so I go and I ask the guy, who's managing the cab stand. I'm like, hey, do you guys accept card? And he's like, no, cash only.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, all right. You don't. And I pointed to all of these cabs all in a row, and I'm like, none of them take a card? And he's like, no, I need cash.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, I kind of like you. Oh, okay. Yeah.
How much is it gonna cost to get me to Opryland?
Right, exactly.
Opryland Hotel, yeah.
Right. So I'm thinking in the back of my head, I'm like, all right, well, I don't know if I can maybe go inside the airport again and find an ATM and maybe get some cash out, because
we always have cash when we travel.
So
for these reasons.
So as I'm kind of pondering, like literally maybe 10, 15 seconds later, he goes, here, this one. And he points to this cabbie, and the cabbie kind of waves me over. And so I'll
take your card.
I point over, and I'm like, oh, okay. And so I walk over, and I get in the cab, and I'm like, you accept card? And just to kind of like, I guess,
pre-qualify. You got to pre-qualify.
Well, reiterate the fact that I had already asked if they could take card, and he said cash only.
And I have no cash.
And so I said, you take card? And he turns around and he's like, you heard me talking to the guy? You heard the conversation?
Okay.
And I was like, so that's a yes? And he's like, you heard. And I'm like, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, sorry for trying to, I guess, just ask if I'm able to, I want to pay you.
Right, exactly.
And so I don't want to sit there when you get to the Opryland and dive out of the car, right?
And have this be awkward.
Right, exactly. So
anyway, I'm not trying to scam you. I have methods to pay. They just aren't cash right now.
It's not cash. And then your guy literally said, none of y'all take cash. So I'm asking, and I'm just confirming, you take cash. There's no need to get testy. So...
This is already off. Off to a great start.
I know. And so I'm just, I'm sitting there, and he drives me to the Opryland. And, when
I'm guessing he's not too chatty.
No, he's not at all. In fact, he takes a call on the Bluetooth in the middle. So he's just chatting with someone. I'm like, what is happening here?
Oh, wow. So, it's just a casual conversation, not a business deal or anything? Okay.
Yeah, we get to the Opryland, and then he's like, all right, let me get your card. And so I give him my card. But before I give him my card, he says, how much tip do you want to leave?
Oh, God.
And I'm
awkward.
like, how much tip?
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, wait,
what's the amount?
I said,
isn't that factored in? I don't understand.
I'm like, why? I'm thinking again, why are you asking me this? Why don't you just accept my card, turn it around, and give me the little screen that says
exactly
tip,
you want a
this
tip,
this tip, this tip, or and let me just kind of figure that out in silence on my own.
And again, it's been a long time since I've taken a cab. Are we tipping cab drivers? Is that standard? What's standard?
Yeah, typically there is a tip on a cab driver, just as there is on an Uber, Lyft, or any of those rideshare programs. So what's considered standard a good tip? No, my point is, Kelly, that he's asking me after we had this really awkward exchange to begin with.
Do you like my exceptional service?
Yeah.
Where I yelled at you first and then didn't speak and you talked on the phone the entire time?
I mean, but listen, not speaking to me is not a deal breaker. Like, I'm fine with the rideshare person or the taxi person not speaking to me. But the fact that he's like, how much tip do you want to leave? And I'm thinking, okay, how about 15?
You know what? Double it. Double it. You were amazing.
I said, how about 15%? And then he said, what's that? And I'm like,
oh God, like, I don't know. What's the total?
And so I it was a $30 cab fare. And so in my head, I'm thinking, okay, so What's half of 3? Okay, 450. 450 would be 15%. On a $30 cab fare. And so I go, 450. He goes, how about 5? I'm like,
oh my gosh, he's bargaining with you on your tip.
I'm thinking to myself, I am literally getting taken right here in the cab. This guy is hustling me after he yelled at me.
It's like, you know what? You just take whatever you want at this point. Take whatever you want.
I'm like, and so
do you want the dog too? I'll throw in the dog.
I almost doubled down and said, no, 450 is good. But then I'm just thinking, okay, what's 50 cents to me in the long run?
Right.
Let's just pay the guy the extra 50 cents and get out of this cab. And
sure, you're welcome.
I was legit on. I felt like I had gotten completely scammed and taken for a ride. And so I tell my wife, she's like, oh, I wouldn't have. And I'm like, of course you wouldn't have.
Of course she wouldn't have. Yes.
Wouldn't have. But I was in the moment, and I'm just sitting there going, okay, what do you want?
You're like, okay.
Do you want 2 credit cards? Can I give you my Costco card, too? Mm-hmm. Maybe you can go in and get some good deals on something.
You were bullied into a bigger tip than what you were.
First of all, I was bullied into a tip.
You were bullied into the cab, really, honestly, if we're going to back it up.
Sure. I was like, and then I was bullied into giving him a tip. And then I was bullied him into giving him a bigger tip.
Yeah. So, that was kind of how I bought my first car. Like, it was 9:00 at night. They're like, I need this. It was the end of the month. I need this on my books for this month.
Yeah, okay. I need you to buy this. I literally.
Yes, that's literally what they said. And I said, okay. And that's how I bought a car.
You're like, all right. What's the next 5 years of my life, right?
Exactly.
Car payment.
It was my first adult purchase, and I was bullied into it.
Oh, shoot. So, anyways, hey, had a great time in Nashville, though. It was fantastic.
Wow, what a great start.
I know.
And then you walk in here, and you just got this chip on your shoulder, like, what just happened?
I know. I was like, okay. And then, of course, it's the Opryland, and everything is about 1,000 times more expensive than anything else. And it's like, all right,
but
great.
It's 1,000 times more magical.
Okay, you're right. It is.
Did you take a boat ride through the joint? That's pretty fun.
Okay, anyways, there you go. I was taken by a cab driver who literally almost made me cry and then was just like, okay.
How about $5? I'm going to need $5 from you.
All right, it's 99.70.